Good afternoon. It is noon on Thursday, and we are at day 4 for our 10-day Handshake profile challenge. So thanks for joining today. We're going to wait just maybe one more minute, allow folks to join. In the meantime, if you could please type into the chat if you can hear me okay and if you can see my screen. Great. Things are coming through. Appreciate that. And we will get started in just one moment. Okay, let's get started. So I'm mindful of your time. We are kicking off your career future with a few simple steps to really spread out the challenge of creating your Handshake profile over 10 days. So we've been working on that. We've covered how to activate your profile. We have covered how to upload your CV and also create your career preferences, really your career interests, so that the jobs that are posted into Handshake and the employers that are getting into Handshake can accurately contact you and really make it customized based upon your interests and your preferences. So today we are moving forward on day 4, and we are just going to talk just a little bit about adding some detail around that work experience. So when you're into your profile, you can come and you can add your work experiences, your volunteer experiences, organizations, and extracurricular activities, those co-curricular activities. Maybe you're doing a health fair, maybe you're doing an immunization clinic, perhaps you are volunteering, doing a fundraising for patients, maybe a walk, whatever that might look like for you that you're involved with. It's important that you add it to your profile. So my philosophy is that experience does not have to be paid. You should add your experiences, whether or not they are paid work experiences, because you develop skills. You develop, specific traits that will add value to your potential employer and for your future. So it's very important that you're adding all these sections into your profile. If you have some questions about, how far back do I go into those experiences? Do I add undergraduate experiences into my profile? My answer to you is it's going to depend. So I know that's not very clear and straightforward, but it's really dependent upon your situation. It's very dependent upon where you are within pharmacy school. If you're a new incoming student, those undergraduate experiences might hold a lot of value for you to continue to add that right now. Let's say you were as a leader in a student organization and undergraduate, you might carry that forward. And then as you gain those new leadership experiences within pharmacy specific leadership organizations, you might choose to remove your undergraduate. It might be that you have research experience from undergraduate, and that might hold true that you add that and keep that on your profile, keep that on your CV resume all the way through graduation of pharmacy school. So it's really going to be dependent upon where you're at in the process of moving through pharmacy school. It's also going to be very dependent upon the type of opportunities that you're seeking and making sure that what you are making available for potential employers is relevant to the opportunities that you want to seek. So this is another opportunity where if you have those questions, you can feel free to type that into the chat and I can answer them now. You're also more than welcome to get into your profile and schedule an appointment with me. So log into Handshake, click Career Center, click SCAG School of Pharmacy Career Center, and then you will have my schedule where you can request a virtual meeting with me. So feel free to do that as well. All right, So your action item today is to add your volunteering experiences, your internship experiences, any type of co-curricular or extracurricular experience that you want potential employers to know, because you're trying to showcase a skill that you've developed. And now this is very much, related to transferable skills. Perhaps you have held leadership positions and you want to show those leadership skills. If you have customer service skills that you've gained from a position that is non-related to pharmacy, but it would be helpful for you in a position that you're applying for, showcase that customer service skill. So, action item, update those experiences in your profile. Our value added item today is to add impact statements. So this is really getting into some juicy information here. And really what this does, when you add impact statements, you're focusing on skills that you've gained and contributions that you've made. So this allows those employers to see the impact that you've had with prior teams. It's allowed them to see the skills that you've gained from prior experiences. And really, employers are assessing how you've done similar work to what is needed for their specific needs. And how you showcase these skills of past experiences can transfer into this new opportunity to show that you will be successful in an opportunity that maybe you've never held that specific title before, but you can showcase the similar skills that you've used from a non-relevant position, but the skill transfers. So leadership is an example of a skill that transfers. Communication is a skill that transfers. Research is a skill that transfers. Planning, organization, all of these are skills that transfer and might be very helpful to show how you can do similar work. So that said, you really want to avoid having bullet points on your CV, resume, within your profile that simply are task-based bullet points. So if it looks like a bullet point that came directly off of a job description and has nothing really to do with your personal performance or has nothing to do with the skills that you developed from performing that responsibility or task, then I would say it's time to transfer it into an impact statement. So the ways to do this, let's walk through that. An impact statement's formula is to start with a verb, an action verb. Now this is something that typically is going to really demonstrate that skill that's used. So I'll get to it in a moment in some examples. You're also going to add in the responsibility. So really what the task is, what you were in charge of doing, what the responsibility was, and then also add in what was the result. What was the outcome of the skill that you used in the responsibility? How did you contribute? What was your impact onto a team, onto a project, into the organization? And that right there will help complete an impact statement. So ask yourself, as you are looking through your existing bullet points on your CV or in your experience sections, ask yourself, really, what was it that I did? What skill am I trying to convey by having this bullet point underneath this particular experience? Why was it important? And really, what happened? How did my performance make a difference? And you also want to try to add some statistics or some metrics around what you're doing. So now this is not going to be the case for every single description that you might have on your CV, but it will help you if you're talking through and just asking yourself, well, how much data did I really have to evaluate? How many patients did I see during a specific time frame? How long did I have to compile a specific amount of information and make a decision? So these are the types of questions. Now, every single experience is going to be different for you. You might ask some additional questions, but this is baseline. Start here, go through each of your bullet points, see if you can transform an existing bullet point with an action verb or responsibility and the result, asking these questions. Okay, so here are a couple of examples. When we're talking about leadership, for a moment, take just a minute and think about your leadership experiences that you've had in the past. Now, this doesn't have to be a leadership title. It doesn't have to be like an officer role or a manager role. This is, leadership comes in many shapes and forms. So leadership could be leading a project, leading a team on a project. It could be leading communication efforts. It could be really, identifying strengths in other people. Leadership comes in so many ways. So I'd like you to venture out and think of leadership a little bit differently than only position titles, and think about the responsibilities that you've had. And think of a time where you held some leadership. And now, instead of, using the same verb on our bullet points on our CV over and over of managed, kind of having the same language throughout all the bullet points, you really want to differentiate those action verbs. And here are just a few examples of those leadership action verbs: orchestrated, founded, initiated, proposed. Maybe if you were leading a project, it could be around that you budgeted or analyzed or implemented, coordinated. If it's around relationships that you were leading, maybe it's that you were nurturing, a new trainee. Maybe it's that you were serving in a certain capacity. You delegated a task. You were cultivating, some relationships. So these are some, just examples. Use your thesaurus. Look at those various verbs that you could use to describe a specific skill. And here's an example of a beginning kind of task-based bullet point of conducted medication education sessions. That would be very task-based. That verb of conducted is transactional. It's not telling me very much about a skill that is used. But if you're doing education sessions, it's likely that you're using a skill of teaching, that you're educating, right? And so what are other verbs that we can use to show that skill of educating and teaching? Maybe it's instructed. So instructed, and then you're getting specific. Instructed diabetic medication education sessions for community members. Now you're building in kind of more of the detail around why, kind of answering that initial earlier question of why you were doing what you were doing so that you can show your impact. And then to make that even better, you're going to add metrics. So instructed more than 15 diabetic medication education sessions for community members in 6 weeks. Now, this sounds like I understand what your specific contributions were rather than a very transactional task-based bullet point of conducted education sessions. So this tells me so much more about who you are, what you've done, why it was important, who you were impacting and helping, serving, and such. So this is the value added item for day 4. I'm going to go ahead and allow you to ask questions in the chat or take yourself off of mute if you do have questions. And I will just hang tight for a moment to give you a chance to do that. Feel free to ask questions about your own experiences, your own bullet points, or anything that I've covered. What if metrics aren't available? Absolutely. So sometimes that's going to be the case, especially in student rotation experiences as an example, where you're getting so much great experience, but it's for a short period of time. And so sometimes you're given projects or tasks that you don't always see through to the end, and you don't know the metrics of what those outcomes were, and that's common. So if that's the case, I would say, if you're feeling like it was a really great effort on your part of something that you were contributing towards, try to follow up. Try to follow up with a prior preceptor, a prior supervisor, a colleague, a faculty member to get those details. And if you're still unable to find those metrics, then that's okay. You're not going to have it for every single bullet point and for every single experience. But I would say, try to make that effort. And then if, for one experience, let's say you have your internship as an example, and you have maybe 5 bullet points that really describe what you did and why you were doing it, and now you're just looking for the metrics piece, try to get one of those bullet points, maybe 2 of those bullet points of the 5, to have some metrics built in to add that extra impact. And I think that will really help you if it's peppered throughout your CV, to still show the contributions in a very metric, outcomes-based format. Thanks for that question. Okay, so it looks like the others on the call don't have questions at this point, and that's perfectly fine. Again, I am available for questions at any point. You can email me, you can set up an appointment through Handshake and your profile. I really appreciate you being here today for day 4 of our 10-day Handshake challenge. Take good care, everyone. See you tomorrow. Bye.